I'm telling you folks, a lot of things are being discovered. Kenyans are really doing amazing stuff in the digital space, and we're going to be talking to a couple of gentlemen here who have done some amazing things. Up first, Daniel Kiriungu. He's a COO of SasaPay. You've heard of SasaPay. If you haven't, you will this morning. And Innocent Magothe. He's a co-founder and CEO of Startinev. It is helps startups and innovations, and they've gotten some great grants and great funding and helping a lot of startups. In fact, they've just opened an office in Geneva, Switzerland, which means they're doing amazingly well. Gentlemen, welcome to Hot 96.
Asante.
Daniel Kiriungu, tell me, what is SasaPay? For those people who've never heard of SasaPay, what is SasaPay?
Excellent. So, in summary, SasaPay is the easiest and the best way to get paid and also to pay. So basically, if you're an individual and you're looking for a way to send money around at the most innovative way, at the best rate in the market, sometimes for free, that will be SasaPay. For example, if you have a wallet in your mobile phone called SasaPay, and you're sending to someone else who is also on SasaPay, that will be free for you. If you are on SasaPay wallet and you're sending to someone in any other wallet or to the bank account, the maximum you'll ever pay on SasaPay is 50 Kenya shillings for all the money you'll ever send. So it is almost, in some instances, as low as a third, others as low as 10 times lower if you're sending to a bank through one platform. If you are a business.
Is there a limit?
The limit is the normal prescribed limits by the central bank, which right now have already been raised up to 500,000 Kenya shillings a day, and of course at 250,000 per transaction. So basically, if you look at an individual, it's quite higher limits you are able now to transact on a day-to-day. Again, if you're a business, you can also get paid through SasaPay. You just need to get a Lipa na SasaPay pay bill or till, and anybody, regardless of where their money is domiciled, whether the money is in SasaPay, whether the money is in a bank, whether the money is in M-Pesa, you'll be able to receive that money and also to be able to send it out through the same channel. So I know we'll be unpacking it much more,
sure.
But in summary, SasaPay, I would say, is the best and the best way to get paid and the best way to pay.
Daniel, it sounds like a cut and paste of M-Pesa or Jumbo Pay or Airtel Money. What is the difference?
Very good question. So ideally, SasaPay was licensed about 3 years now. Since we got our license now, it has been actually exactly 3 years. Why were we given a license? Yet there was M-Pesa, there was Airtel Money, there was T-Cash. One of the biggest need we were supposed to address in the market is something we call interoperability. Big word, meaning that we were looking for a solution of, you have got one wallet, one mobile account that can send money to anybody regardless of which number they have. So you don't have to be restricted to one line for you to send money or to receive money. That one is one of the biggest differentiator of SasaPay. So if today you actually don't even have a line, a SIM card in your phone, and you have a SasaPay wallet, you only need an access to internet, and you'll still be able to send money and receive money. You don't actually have to be on a network per se. So ideally, now SasaPay separates the telco functions from the mobile money functions completely, and we can actually address you purely on the basis of what money transfer needs do you have, not necessarily that you belong to a specific telco. That is one of the biggest differentiator. Our mandate number 2 was, how do we help the market democratize the payment space? So we have been given a very huge task on innovate around and make sure you bring down the cost of sending money, because that was also one of the issues that the market was complaining about. We have done a fantastic job there, and as you'll be hearing very soon, our merchants or businesses that are getting paid with SasaPay will no longer be charged fees. In fact, they will be paid to get paid.
Startinev is a startup accelerator. So ideally we support founders who are building startups in the African ecosystem. So that is through various functions. That's mentorship, training, capacity building, and a very big one, funding. And the idea is all these founders who are coming out of universities and even some who are coming out of corporate and they have excellent innovations, excellent ideas. How do they actually build sustainable startups? Yeah? In an African ecosystem, you don't see what you get in Silicon Valley. How can we bring the same model here and we do that by obviously funding some of these startups through grants, through venture capital, through debt. We do that through training some of the younger innovators on how to run their startups the best way, capacity building, helping them get co-founders, helping them get the right services in terms of professional services. You need a lawyer, you need HR, you need business development. Can we get all these services for you and at an affordable fee? And one final thing we're now trying out is space. Can we also get you a space from where you're able to work from as low as free?
Like an office space?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And how do you determine who gets the funding? Who gets...
Yeah.
Because I know you must get lots of requests,
Yes.
right? And not all of them are legitimate.
Yeah. So we run a lot of programs. Our flagship program is Techstars Startup Weekend. It's a 3-day boot camp. So in that 3-day boot camp, we're able to take these startups through a very rigorous sort of training and mentorship program. And by the end of it, they're able to pitch to a panel of judges who ideally determine your number 1, number 2, number 3. But also in the process, we're able to actually realize who's actually building an innovation that actually matters and that deserves funding. That's number 1. Number 2 is the generic way of doing it, where you send us your pitch deck or you send us what you're doing, and we're able to send it to our network of investors. And if any investor is interested in investing in that specific sector, they're happy. We do the connection, they can pick it up.
And where did you get your funding?
There are various sources of funding. I know the story out there is that there's no funding. There's actually more. I think personally there's more funding than the ecosystem can handle from various parts of the world. It's only that currently in the ecosystem you have to be very selective in how you invest, but there's a lot of funding out there coming from other accelerators, other incubators, partners, corporate. A very interesting one is now we are seeing corporate starting going into investing in startups. Safaricom has already done it. Techstars, which we represent in Kenya, has already done it with Audi in Germany. So the idea is, can we get corporate to even push out some of this funding to startups as part of their investment plans? Yeah.
And because you've done so well in the last, three or so years,
Yes.
you're opening up an office in Geneva.
Yes.
Why? Why Geneva?
It was coincidental. My co-founder, for some reason, was moving to Geneva, but then in the process, we realized that we're able to pull in more funding. It's a case of the funding that actually doesn't sit in Africa in most cases. Funding sits in Europe and the US. How can you be able to pull in more funding into the ecosystem? And we've realized that if he's actually stationed in Geneva, then why not run some of these programs from that office or from that country? And ideally invest in startups. One of the ways we've really helped startups is by avoiding a lot of venture capital, but actually more grants. You can imagine a 25-year-old coming out of university with a very good idea, telling them, I'm going to give you $10,000 and you're going to give me 10% of your company, could almost seem unfair. How about we give you the $10,000 as a grant? Then where that comes is if you partner with embassies, foundations. So that is a very big part of it, because we can get some of these embassies, which we've already done, to actually invest in these startups as grants to help them start off. Then as they grow, now we're able to look at the venture capital and debt options. Yeah.
And what are the success rates of these startups?
Generally, the success rate of startups, out of every 100, you only expect 3. But then I think that has changed a lot, especially with incubation and accelerator programs, because you're almost able to provide a cushion. So even if somebody falls, they don't fall too hard. But I mean, the African ecosystem is also quite young in terms of startups. So we are happy. The shift is happening, not as fast as we'd expect it to, but it's actually happening, and we're starting to see more and more startups come out of the ecosystem. I'm so sure in the next 1 or 2 years we'll have at least 2-3 unicorns, which now would shift the ecosystem entirely. That's number 1. Number 2, we are starting to see the more developed startups starting to reinvest in other younger startups in the ecosystem, which now would create the actual shift. I think a lot of our parents would still invest in Tushamba when they have money, but we are starting to see the shift where people who already have money are investing in innovations, in startups, and a lot more Africa-driven accelerators and incubators are coming up.
Daniel, with SasaPay, what numbers are we talking?
For businesses, we are now about 15,000 unique businesses that are active using our Lipa and SasaPay till numbers. The users are now clicking plus or minus now, I think, looking at yesterday's numbers, we are almost about 400,000 going to 500,000 by next year. But that is not even as big as how ambitious we are, because we are looking at how do we use now the existing customers to actually exponentially grow these numbers into the millions. So it's a success story this far, but we can say we have not even scratched the surface yet.
Other than the low fee that you charge, why would I, a typical Kenyan, why would I want to use Sasa Pay?
Excellent question. Actually, we don't want to be our offering to be low fee. Low fee at a point is no longer a competitive advantage anyway. Though important, but I'll take a very good example. The combination of Innocent's business and our business in this show was genius. A stroke for, you must have been behind it, you know. We know you as a genius. But let me paint a picture.
Yes.
Sasa Pay is helping a business to collect money. What does that mean? That an investor can literally see how much this business takes every single day. They can see how much they get paid via Sasa Pay, how much they get paid from a bank account, how much they get paid from M-Pesa and any other channel available, including cash. Because we are telling the businesses, if you got paid via cash, don't put that money in a mattress, because it is not going to help you in the long run. Mm-hmm. Put it in our ecosystem. Go to an agent and introduce it in the ecosystem. What that does is we are able to score a business better in its capacity. How big is it? Now, Innocent will come and say, I want to fund this business. And every day a CEO of a funding company or a bank wakes up, they are looking to sell more money for a decent return, but a safe return. The question they ask themselves is, who do I give this money to and on what basis? So we are saying, if you are collecting money via Sasa Pay, we are helping you to create a digital record of how your business performs. When this Innocent company come and now they want to invest in this business, they will have ready data that they can use to fund this business. And now to take it to next level is, when this funding is due, for example, let's say you have been given a loan by a bank or any other finance institution like a SACCO or microfinance, our system is able now to help that funding to be collected back. Remember, giving loans is never it's not the hardest. The hardest is collecting. So our system brings two people together who have got different needs. The business needs to grow through capitalization, and the lender want to lend more money to make a better return. Now, let me now figure it out. You have just spoken about Viusasa, Viusasa Travel. Now, if I'm a business, if Viusasa Travel business wanted now to give more value to the customer, they can say, I can actually fund you to go for that holiday. You know, today there is the model of you can save towards it, which is very good. But there is also need in the market of Lipa Pole Pole, where I actually want to take my family for a holiday, and because I know I will be able to do it, I want to pay it in little, in bits.
Yes.
If Viusasa was now collecting money, its payments through Sasa Pay, we will now bring in a father who will put in money for that customer, and that customer will go on their holiday. And then come next year, they can now spread their payments in a much longer space.
And you'll charge me extra interest because I'm Lipa in Pole Pole?
Yes, again, very minimal. And actually, that's a model we call buy now, pay later. Based on what model, sometimes you don't pay more, sometimes you do, based on what is the relationship between the money collector and the business. Sometimes the business is actually paid.
You spoke about agents.
Yes.
Where is Sasa Pay in Kenya? Are you all over the country?
Yes, we are. So, first of all, we have got our own agents across the country, but we have also gone through what we call collaboration, strategic partnerships with people like Equity Bank. So today, if you have money in cash and you want to introduce it into your ecosystem, into your Sasa Pay wallet, you can walk into an Equity Bank agent and deposit money. You can walk to a CFC bank account, branch, and deposit money. You can walk to KCB, Family Bank, and so on. So we are riding on our own agents, but also through the power of collaboration. Hence the reason I spoke about the interoperability part. You can walk to any bank agent and also introduce value into your wallet.
If you look at how other countries, let's look at it from an African perspective here. I was in Rwanda about a month ago, and the moment you get to the border, you have a money changer trying to give you loads of cash for you to exchange your cash. If you come back to Kenya through the border, that doesn't happen. You just see M-Pesa shops, nobody has loads of cash, and I think it's across the world. My co-founder was telling me when he landed in Geneva, one of the things he's had to really get used to is he was used to take my phone pay. So if you're not on Apple Pay in those countries, you're probably just paying in cash. You know, Ubers and the rest are still taking cash. In Kenya, that is not happening at all.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, we are way above.
We are way ahead of
and
the
they
rest.
call us third world. By the way, your co-founder is Kenyan as well.
Yes.
And he decided to relocate. Why?
It was coincidental because he needed to, because the wife had gotten a job. But then what we realized is if we've been doing this in Kenya without so much support from our funders, specifically because, again, the funding doesn't sit in this country and probably not in any African country, can we actually now control the funding from where it comes from? If you look at all the big conferences, if you look at all these big summits, somehow they either happen in Europe or they happen in the US, and that's where the decisions are made. Can we be able to make decisions for Africans from that ecosystem? Can we be able to actually sit in those sit where the decisions are made, and that allows us to pull in more money? I'm sure you've all seen this story of every big founder in an African ecosystem has a white co-founder, for example, and the reason for that is because I would trust him as a Kenyan with my money than I would trust somebody from another country. So it's the same dynamic, So if we are sitting in a country where decisions are made, we're probably, number one, able to push for more policy, number two, become a trusted entity in terms of bringing cash into the ecosystem, and number three, to even act as a broker to some level where we say, okay, you don't know Innovator X, but we do know them, and we are sitting here with you, so you can be almost sure your investment is safe. And finally is the fact that we are not playing on a playing level field. Investors who invest in Silicon Valley expect their returns in 10 years. You look at Kenya, investors are starting to push startups to pay back in 2 years, 3 years. So the playing field is not level. So how do we level that from a policy point of view?
And that's difficult. I mean, paying back in 2 years.
I mean, in 3 years, he's been 3 years, he's only done 500,000 customers. If we look at the biggest startup right now, the biggest and the newest, which is Threads, they did millions of users in 24 hours. So the playing field is not really level. That's number one. Number two, if we are to really look at innovation in terms of scale, we have to look at it from an African perspective. At the end of the day, if you're going to launch in Kenya only, the most you'll ever do is 50 million customers. That is including children, But we have a 1.something billion continent. How do you unlock that sort of potential? And what we've done as Startinev is we are already running 2 programs, one in Uganda and one in Rwanda, and we are going to Tanzania in January, and the goal is, can we actually unlock user base? Because at the end of the day, no matter how much we invest in our startups and in our innovators, if they can only access a 50 million sort of population, then we're not doing them any justice. 50 million, I mean, even if you were to make 1 shilling per month from each user, you only make 50 million per month, but you could potentially make 1.4 billion every month if you are making a shilling, if you had the access to the entire continent. So that's what we are looking at.
Well, like you said, I mean, the continent has 1.4 billion people. Is there enough room in places like Kenya, or do they have to expand and go to Congo or Ethiopia, or places where it's still a cash and carry economy?
The actual power is in the continent. Being able we've hacked the Kenyan ecosystem. Can we hack other ecosystems? But then I think there's a very big barrier to entry, which is culture. Kenyans were very open to M-Pesa, but in those countries, it's not that there's no mobile money, but for some reason, they've not really picked it up. How do you change that culture and get people to think that it's actually safe for you to send your money from your phone to another phone? It's not gotten there yet in those other countries. So it's a question of culture and how people think. A question of educating people to realize that technology is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I think if we all remember about 8 years ago when Facebook came, our parents would see you on Facebook and they think you're devil worshipping. And it was just technology. So can we be able to actually democratize what technology is and show the benefits? Because I think if we do that, it becomes positive in terms of how fast users are able to pick it up. We could build the best startups for sure, but if the community doesn't pick it up, you're only building it for yourself.
Yeah.
How do you move more people to actually believe that technology is an enabler and that they can actually use it as a resource to do various things?
I mean, that's all people spoke was M-Pesa.
Sure.
But now, is there room for you guys? Is there room for others? Are you going to be able to make more money, get more customers, rather than, the 500,000 you have now and whatever your projected is for the next 2-3 years?
In a way, it's about 90% are still cash, 10% is digital, or 80-20. Everybody agrees that whichever ratio you may pick, we are still biggest in cash. Now, therein lies our opportunity. SasaPay is not viewing our biggest competitors, M-Pesa or any other bank or Airtel Money. Our biggest competitor, and therein our biggest opportunity, is still in the 90% people who are still using cash. So if I am a business and I'm still getting encouraging to be paid via cash, how then does SasaPay facilitate you to take that cash and introduce it into the economy? There is a huge advantage when the money is circulating in the economy through the digital, because the more money is in the economy, the more the financial institutions are able to capitalize this business back. Remember, banks, they don't really use their own money to give loans. They collect deposits from people and they come and give that deposit to the businesses that are growing. Now, if this money is still lying in mattresses or in some safes in the house or wherever, it means that the market will not have enough capital to actually do that job. So we are viewing a model that will encourage many more businesses to get paid via digital, and even those that are getting in cash, we make sure that they have a reason and they understand why they should just take that money and go to a nearest SasaPay agent and introduce it into their till, so that again our financial is going to see the transactions and they are going to capitalize their business better. So to answer your question, the answer is yes, the opportunity is humongous. And as Innocent again mentioned, we are not only looking at Kenya as the market. So just recently, we even have a team now in Tanzania. We are also in Uganda now. We are looking at how do we enter DRC. So SasaPay will be it's a Pan-African strategy we are doing through the ANAM we are calling SasaPay Global. So we are not only looking at opportunities just within Kenya, despite the fact that it's still humongous, but also how do we facilitate international money transfer. So if I'm a Kenyan and I'm in US and I still want to pay my mom via any channel in Kenya, into bank, into M-Pesa, now that SasaPay is just a wallet you need and you can access it from anywhere in the world, how can I continue transacting from wherever I am as if I was just in Kenya? How do I actually pay bills for people locally from wherever I am in Africa? How do I actually collect money in Kenya shillings? I am running a business in Grogon and spare parts, but I'm getting paid via SasaPay wallet. Now when it is about to get more stock, how do I access a USD account on the spot and I pay to China or to Japan and the stock is delivered? Those are the kind of innovations you are speaking about. When you think about the trade volumes that now comes in to space when you speak of people importing goods and all, you just realize the billions that we are talking about in Kenya are going to be very minimal compared to the opportunity out there. So is there space for more fintechs? Absolutely yes. Guys, wake up and let's innovate and conquer this market. We have not even started.
Do you have icons or apps like M-Pesa does?
Yes, we do.
Go on.
So you can access SasaPay either via USSD. Now that brings about inclusivity. It does not matter which type of a phone you have. You just need to dial *626# and start your journey. *626#. And if you're now you have a smartphone, just go to your app store, whether Android or Apple, and download the app SasaPay. It's as simple as that. SasaPay. Just search for it. You will see it, a very beautiful icon there. Just download it and start your journey. Actually, registering to be a SasaPay customer is a 1-minute job. Take your phone, download the app, take a photo of your ID, both sides, take your own selfie, you're done.
That's it.
That's it. we are using technology to ensure we do KYC for you. That information you just give us through the phone. In a matter of minutes, some things are happening behind the scenes, and we are confirming you are actually the real you. That's why the selfie must be there,
right,
so that it's not a photo. You are not defrauding the system. We have a technology that ensures that if you take your selfie, it's actually you. And then you take a photo of your identification document, that's your ID, front and back. And once you do that, our technology kicks in and confirms.
How do they get in touch?
Just reach out to us through our website, startinev.com, our social media. Reach out to myself. Personally, I think I'm quite active on socials, and the idea is look out for any programs we have. Within a year, we do between 100 and 300 events. That's various programs, either programs we run or the programs that our partners run. It could be thematic. We are sector agnostic as well. There are programs that are quite general, so they are open to everyone. There are programs that are very specific. For example, I know we have a main focus on blockchain startups, for example, for Q1 of next year. So just look us up on socials at Startinev, our website startinev.com. We are quite responsive. DM us if you have any idea. If you have any idea as well, share your pitch deck, share your idea, whatever it is, and we are happy to look at it and help. But we also have a lot of programs running in campuses. University of Nairobi, Strathmore, USIU, and the idea is, as much as they are already established founders, how do we nurture the founders who come out of universities? And again, if you are in a university, if you are in a school and you want to support your innovations, we are happy to support in every way possible.